Hi, welcome back to Half of Heidi. Today I am 11 days post-op a vertical sleeve gastrectomy, and I've had a request to basically do a walkthrough of each day post-op in terms of what I could consume, because obviously for the majority of people in the first 2 weeks post-op you're in the liquid phase and you're never really quite sure, am I getting enough in, am I eating the right things? Yeah, you kind of have to, obviously go through it yourself and experience it yourself, but sometimes it is helpful to see what other people, drink, eat, etc. So hopefully this is informative for anybody who's either pre-op or in the post-op phase and you want to compare your experience with somebody else's. So yeah, that's what this is, the 10 days post-op in terms of what I consumed. I'm actually going to include surgery day in this list, and I'm just going to refer to that as day 0. So on day 0, I basically had teeny tiny sips of water, and it was about 4 hours post-op that I was allowed to do that. Not all surgeons will let you drink. Some will let you have like an ice chip and things like that, but fortunately I was allowed to have sort of small sips of water, and they were like basically just enough to wet my mouth, that they really weren't I didn't feel like I was swallowing anything, if that makes sense. I had my surgery in the afternoon, so I kind of went to sleep later that night. Well, kind of sleep, hospital sleep. And obviously you've got the IV, so you are getting enough fluid. It's just you have that dry mouth, dry throat feeling that you really want to quench. So day 1, still in hospital. So continued with the tiny sips of water. It had to have the leak test before they would give me the okay for what they call free fluids, which basically just means anything that is runny enough to drink through a straw. They gave me 2 different types of drinks to try over the course of that day, so day 1. One was called Resource, which is basically like a protein drink, and it came in like a popper Tetra Pak. I'm not sure what to call them for international audiences. And they said to me, it is really, really sweet and thick. It's very syrupy. So if I needed to, I could mix that with water, and that's exactly what I did. And I probably had about 100 milliliters of that, over the course of a day. Also, they gave me a Sustagen, a chocolate flavoured Sustagen. Now that's also like a popper Tetra Pak juice box. I think some people might call it a juice box. So that, I think they're around 250 milliliters. And I probably had one of those in about a 24-hour period. At lunch, they brought me a soup. I had probably about 3 spoonfuls of that. And then again at dinner, they brought me a soup. And again, I probably had about 3 spoonfuls of that. So all up, I really probably only had about 400 milliliters, 500 milliliters over 24 hours on day 1, which is actually pretty good when you think about it. Day 2, I still continued with the tiny sips of water. I was still in hospital. I had half a Sustagen, one of those chocolate Sustagens, over about a 3-hour period. For breakfast, I had a broth, and I had about 2 spoonfuls of that, only because it was really disgusting. I didn't like the flavour at all. Then I was released from hospital. I didn't have any lunch. I drove home. Well, I didn't drive home. My partner drove me home. Then when we got home, we made up some protein water using protein powder. And I think I probably had about 400 milliliters of that over a 12-hour period. And then I had about 50 milliliters of soup for dinner. And it was homemade soup, not like a cup of soup, if that makes sense. Day 3, I had about 500 milliliters of protein water over 12 hours. I didn't have any breakfast or lunch. For dinner, I had 50 millilitres of soup. So that's day 3. By day 3, I was getting about 550 millilitres in. I was still feeling pretty rough on day 3. I wasn't feeling really bad, but it was really, really hard to drink, and especially trying to get in the protein water. I've mentioned in other videos, you're going to have to experience it for yourself in terms of how difficult it is to actually drink water. Day 4, I had about 500 millilitres of protein water again over about 12 hours. For breakfast, I had an OptiFast shake with 250 millilitres of water, and that probably took me a good 3 to 4 hours to actually get through that. Again, no lunch. I just wasn't up for trying to put anything more in. I think basically by the time I finished the OptiFast shake, it was about lunchtime, and I was like, I don't want to continue trying to eat, basically. But for dinner, I had soup, and I had probably about 75 millilitres of soup. So I actually had a little bit more soup on day 4. Day 5 is when I really started to improve in terms of what I could get in. I actually had about 1 litre, so that's like double. I had about 1 litre of protein water over 24 hours. For breakfast, again, I had an OptiFast shake with 250 millilitres of water, and that probably took me 2 to 3 hours. I was probably doing a bit better by then. But again, I didn't have lunch. Dinner, I had soup, and I had a little bit more again, so probably closer to 100 millilitres. But I'm really guessing it could have been less, and I'm just really optimistic. Then day 6, so I had 1 litre of protein water, again over a 24-hour period. Starts to get a bit repetitive here. For breakfast, I had another OptiFast shake, 250 millilitres, probably took me about 2 hours to get all of that in. No lunch. Dinner was soup, 100 millilitres. Day 7, I'd run out of protein water because I'd used up all of my samples, which was really frustrating. It was really sad. I had 1 litre of cordial this time over a 24-hour period. Breakfast, OptiFast shake, no surprise there. Again, it probably took me about 2 hours, and no lunch. And then dinner was soup, again about 100 millilitres. Day 8, I had 1 litre of cordial over 24 hours. I had an OptiFast shake, 250 millilitres over 2 hours. And then I had afternoon tea. I had custard, and I probably had about 1/4 cup of custard. And then later that night, I had, I think probably the equivalent of 100 millilitres of a frozen pineapple and coconut treat. It actually was a smoothie that we tried to make, and then I realised that there was no way I was going to be able to get it down. Like, it was just too thick. So we put it, my husband, he did all of this, put it into icicle moulds and then froze them. So it came out really nice. It actually was a bit like, I don't know if you've ever tried those Weiss ice creams where they've got like the creamy bit down one side. It came out a bit like that. It was really, really nice. I added protein powder to the smoothie mixture as well because I was starting to get a bit worried about not having enough protein. Day 9, we're nearly there. Day 9, again, 1 litre of cordial over 24 hours. I had OptiFast again for breakfast, 250 millilitres. Again, probably 1.5 to 2 hours to have that. For dinner, I had probably about 1/4 cup, maybe a little bit more, maybe 100 mils of a Chobani yogurt. Then day 10, I had, so this is yesterday, I had 1 litre of cordial over 24 hours, an OptiFast shake for breakfast. I'm just going to have to pause because I have to sneeze. I just did a massive sneeze. I'm really glad I managed to hit pause in time. Dinner, I had 100 millilitres of soup, and a bit later I had 1/4 cup of custard. The thing that I will point out in terms of what I'm observing from my eating pattern is I'm basically not having lunch. And I think it's because it's taking me a while to get through like the Optifast, and then it takes a while for the Optifast to leave my stomach. I'm not hungry. It's which is great, because, you know, that's kind of the whole point. The reason I wanted to go on this experience was because I was hoping that I could reduce my hunger and things like that. But I'm definitely not getting enough protein. I can't wait for my protein water to arrive. However, today's only Saturday, so it's not going to get here tomorrow. It might get here on Monday if I'm lucky. But yeah, I'm a bit worried about not getting enough protein. So I hope that sort of shows that even now at day 10, day 11 today, but even up to day 10, I was probably having, it still wasn't even 2 litres of fluid a day. So I am going to try even harder to up the fluid intake, because I feel like I should. I feel like I'm 10 days post-op. I've really got to start up the ante and just, yeah, it's just still hard to drink water. It's not even hard. It's just weird. It's just weird not to go, oh, I'm thirsty, and have a glass of water, because you can't fit a whole glass in. So you are constantly just, you're like a tank, and you're just kind of you get down to maybe 3/4 of the tank being full, and then you top it up with some water, and then you work off again, and then 3/4 of the tank full, and then you have another sip. So it's just sort of really strange. It's a really strange, well, for me anyway, it's a change to the way that I used to drink and eat and that kind of stuff. And I see why they say to stop drinking 15 minutes before you're going to actually eat, because otherwise you're full of the liquid. There's no space for the food. And also because they don't want, to dilute, especially when you move into puree phase, your food, they don't want you to dilute it further, because it moves through your stomach faster, and then you'll potentially either fit more food in because you've got an emptier stomach, or you'll feel hungry again, and then you have that mental battle. Am I going to eat, or am I not going to eat? What am I going to do? So yeah, trying to be really mindful of drinking at set times, and then knowing, okay, well, if I'm going to eat something like soup, or once you're in the puree phase, whatever that happens to be, if I'm going to eat that, I should wait 15 minutes. So yeah, same advice as my last video. Don't beat yourself up. The only advice that I can give is definitely to continue to watch the colour of your wee, to see if you're really dehydrated. If you're the kind of person too who gets headaches when you're dehydrated, then obviously that's going to be another indicator for you. But yeah, I think so long as you're getting more than 1 litre or 1 litre plus, well, that's the same thing. I don't know why I said that. I think you'll be okay. I've been okay. And I mean, I know everyone's different, but I will, now that I'm nearing I'll nearly be in the third week, of post-op. I'm going to try even harder. Maybe first I'll just try to get, 1.5 litres of protein water instead of 1 litre of protein water over a 24-hour period. So I might do it that way. We'll see. Yeah, anyway, I hope that was helpful. If you have any topics you'd like me to discuss, please, just either comment below or send me a message or something. Really do want to make sure I continue to make these videos useful for you guys. Yeah, that's it for this one. Really hope you're having a great week, and I will talk to you in the next video.